honor to invite the presenters to the high table. Abstract 007. Permit me to officially go to the page. 007. 39. Titled Expanding Access to Family Planning Through Proprietary and Patent Medicine Vendors Training by Etimeter N. Obilo OF. I guess the presenter is Etimeter. Is that correct? Can you come to the high table? Please, let's appreciate her. Let's encourage her. Okay, you presented in the plenary too. Etimeter is here, so that is 1/4. The author of the abstract titled Effect of Private Providers Access to Government Family Planning Commodities on FP Services at Lagos and Kaduna States, I guess, by Iroko, Shobowale, Barua, and Toriola. I guess Barua is presenting. Is she here? Toriola is presenting, is that correct? Please, can we appreciate her and let her come to join us for the high table? The third for this session is titled Increasing Access to Long-Acting Reversible Contraceptive Methods through Private Facilities Social Franchising by Onyechi, LCO, and Mwala, A.N. Mwala is presenting. Is that right? Please, can we appreciate her? We have gotten 3/4. Then abstract 10, titled Institutionalizing Proven to Work, also known as PTW, Family Planning Models, into existing structures, the NURI NYSC partnership. Many authors, but I guess the presenter is Abdulaziz Ibrahim. No, is he or she here? Is she? Okay, we are most welcome. Please, can we appreciate her? Thank you very much. I understand, even though officially they will be given 10 minutes to do the presentation, by the 8th minute, there will be a yellow light to say 2 minutes to go, and by the 10th minute, automatically the microphone will cease. And I'm sure they have done rehearsal already, so that if you can present within 8 minutes, do better than leaving your conclusion after the microphone has ceased. I also want to appreciate the rapporteurs for this session, and I shall now hand over the microphone. By the way, my name still is Ekele B.A., and I'm supposed to join Dr. Adewi in this session. So, sir, with your permission, I will join you. And meanwhile, I should give you the microphone if there are other things you need to, before we invite the first presenter. Okay. I have the instruction of the co-chair that we can go straight ahead to business of the day. Are we ready? The IT group? Is the timekeeper ready? May I therefore formally invite Etimeter N to do the presentation of the work labeled abstract number 007. Dr. Edith.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Etimeter. I'm here to present on expanding access to family planning services through proprietary and patent medicine vendors training. Let me first of all appreciate my co-author, Ms. Obilo Ejifet, who is absent. Okay, contraceptive use in Nigeria is very low, most especially in Rivers State. Only 10% of currently married women use modern methods of family planning. Reasons for men's needs include, among others, poor access to services and trained providers in our different facilities. For most rural and remote dwellers in Nigerian context now, the PPMVs are always our first point of call for most health services, including family planning uptake. Training PPMVs to better understand medication they dispense should enable them to offer better services to their clients. That's the concept for these PPMV trainings. The expanded social marketing projects in Nigeria is being short. It's a 5-year project which is being funded by the United States Agency for International Development. And the goal is to improve the health of women and children in Nigeria by expanding and improving knowledge of access to, availability of, and effective sustained use of family planning and reproductive health and child survival methods and products. A major approach that the expanded social marketing project in Nigeria is using is to train and build the capacity of persons who dispense prescribed medication, especially the doctors, pharmacists, and PPMVs in our different communities. Next slide, please. Although some studies have been carried out to explore the role of PPMVs in Nigeria, very few of these studies specifically assess the contributions of PPMVs to family planning uptake in the country. And that is why this study is aimed at assessing the level of knowledge of PPMVs based on previous trainings that Society for Family Health has conducted, the validity of information passed to their clients in counseling on use of over-the-counter commodities, as well as to determine if improvement can be made to the trainings to deliver services effectively to their clients. Well, as I said before, the expanded social marketing project in Nigeria has a major goal to build the capacity of those who dispense drugs. So this research or study was conducted to highlight all the objectives I just mentioned. The methodology, PPMVs were trained in 2014 and 2015, and those who underwent through this training for these 2 years were randomly selected. A total of 1,177 PPMVs were selected for the research, and structured questionnaire was used to elicit information from these PPMVs in the different communities across the 12 states in Nigeria. Data was analyzed using SPSS, and it was to ensure that we measure the levels of knowledge of counseling and clients of family planning, including referrals. Findings. After the analysis, study shows that 63% of PPMVs can correctly state the reasons for family planning in Nigeria. They educate their clients, counsel them, and counsel them on the need to take up family planning services for each contact they made with these clients. 83% has adequate knowledge to counsel appropriately on family planning in their different facilities across the 12 states where this study was conducted. 49% had adequate knowledge to train clients on condoms use. We will agree to the fact that aside the long lasting methods of contraception that women go through, men also play a vital role in family planning uptake. So the need to train men on the use of condoms is very essential and cannot be overemphasized. 41% had adequate knowledge to train clients on the use of standard day methods using the cycle dates. Well, during some researches have shown that most women try to back out from family planning options because of fear of side effects of this family planning, and majority of them will opt for natural methods. So the PPMVs during their training went through the use of natural methods like the standard day methods, which is the cycle bit, and they have the capacity to train every client they have contact with who comes for any family planning uptake or service. 55% can refer a client to an appropriate healthcare provider for other services, including family planning. You agree with me that PPMVs do not and are not supposed to initiate family planning options, both pills and other ethicals. So during the training, they were taken through the process and the roles and responsibilities of PPMVs, and so they understand perfectly how to refer clients who come in for initiation of family planning methods. Well, the findings is also indicated in this table. PPMVs who can correctly state the reasons why family planning is important is 63%. I already have spoken to this. Those who adequately have knowledge of counseling appropriately of family planning is 83%, and who have adequate knowledge to train clients on use of standard aid method is 41%, just as PPMVs who know how to refer clients is 55%. Thank you. Next one, please. In conclusion, with the training of PPMVs, training of PPMVs on counseling women appropriately on the use of condom, cycle-based, and oral pills for refills is very, very important in Nigeria. Training had given PPMVs more confidence in their abilities and had somewhat improved their level of confidence to deal with their clients each time they have contact with them. Aside that, these PPMVs who went through the training also have reported increased clientele as a result of the confidence they have built on their clients who come to them one-on-one. Refresher trainings are very, very important, just as one-off trainings wouldn't be enough, because some of the PPMVs still need some level of mentoring to be able to provide these services that they've undergone the training for. Next time. Let me use this opportunity to appreciate the United States Agency for International Development, who is our founder, all the NAPMED members in the 12 states where the research was conducted, as well as the field workers who did this research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Etimta. So the next person will be Iroko A, talking about the effect of private providers' access to government family planning authorities on family planning services. We're going to hold questions until everyone has presented, okay?
Can we welcome our colleague?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Monica Toriola, and this afternoon we'll be looking at the impact of private providers' access to government family planning commodities on family planning service provision in Lagos and Kaduna states. I would like to stand on existing protocol. Yeah, my presentation today is based on the family planning pilot that was conducted in both Lagos and Kaduna states. So, looking at the pilot context, Nigeria has one of the highest maternal mortality ratios in the world, which is estimated at 576 deaths per 100 months. And as we all know, the total fertility rate remains high at 5.5. Our prevalence rate is relatively low at 15%, and of course, unmet need is still in existence. Well, the goal of the government of Nigeria is to make family planning services available to every woman of childbearing age. And the SHOPS project seeks to improve quality and sustainability of private clinic-based family planning, reproductive health, and MCH service provision in the six states where we work. So the rationale behind the pilot, in spite of providing starter stocks to facilities where we work in Lagos and Kaduna and all the remaining 4 states, we discovered that providers do not generally order a lot of these commodities because they are used to small quantities, and for the organization working in the sales of this commodity, a lot of them at times don't like supplying these facilities because of the small number of quantities that they request for. And FP uptake was generally high during the large trainings that the project conducted, and especially when the services are completely free. So for the hypothesis of the pilot's hypothesis is that access to family planning commodities reduce stockouts in the private facilities, and at the same time, the commodities being available at a lower price will also increase uptake in private sector facilities. Providers will also be able to offer a wider range of methods through increased knowledge and capacity. And overall, of course, we expect it to lead to greater uptake of family planning methods in the private sector. So this is the package of support offered by the shops. Before the pilot, we had trained the facilities on various family planning trainings, the BCS training, the lab trainings, the CTU training. But we also decided to give them a lab training because of the introduction of the plan on next by Federal Ministry of Health. So linkage to government FB commodities was part of the package. Training on contraceptive logistic management system, demand creation was also done during the pilot, and of course timely rendition of data to local government areas where there was peak. So in Lagos State, we worked in five local governments: Alimosho, Agege, Oshodi, Solomon, Sofia, and Ikorodu. And in Kaduna State, we worked in 3: Kaduna North, Kaduna South, and Chikun. In Lagos State, we worked 50 facilities were part of the pilot, while in Kaduna State, 20 facilities were part of the pilot. And the flag off dates for the 2 states were different. The pilot started in Lagos in August 2015, and in Kaduna, and it ran till February 2016. And in Kaduna, the pilot was flagged up in November 2015 and it ran till May 2016. So these are the key points of the memorandum of understanding that was signed between the association, the Ministry of Health in the two states. These are the roles and responsibility of the partners was part of the memorandum of understanding, the pricing and data rendition. This is also the commodity distribution through the public sector that the private facilities were expected to key into. The Federal Ministry of Health takes delivery of the commodities and is taken to the central warehouse, which and from there taken to the FP state store, the FP local government store, and of course from there to the various service delivery points and the private health facilities. So going into the results, the figure 1 here looks at the comparison of FP uptake of services and products pre and during the pilot period in the Lagos State. And for all commodities, there was an increase. And the increase in uptake was by 79%. And of course, more clients were able to access wider range of FP methods and service. And like I said earlier, and you can see from the chart, there was an increase in uptake across all family planning methods. And the increase was most significant for implants than any other method in Lagos State. And more than 127% of the clients access implants and 43% for IUD. This for Kaduna State, the comparison of FP uptake pre the pilot and during the pilot period. For all methods except the IUD, there was an increase. The IUD, there was a slight reduction. And, but the most significant that was identified was for the implant, which went up by 55%. And there was also an increase in condom. And this could be because of the dual protection load that the condom, of course, takes. For new acceptors, in Lagos State, across all methods, there was an increase of 71%. And the number of FP methods offered and requested at private facilities, the pilot private facilities, also increased. And as like I said before, this increased significantly by 157%, while the IUD for the new acceptor increased by 50%. This is the one for Kaduna State. And like I said earlier on, there was a decrease, a slight increase across all methods except IUC. Number of clients demanding family planning services increased by 52%, like I mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So this is the CYPs for the pre-pilot period and the pilot period in both states. In Lagos State, the CYPs went from 2,834 in the pilot facilities 1,875 during the pilot period in the 50 facilities where we worked in. And in Kaduna, from 2050 to 2,459. Shops measured change during the pilots, during pre-pilot and during the pilot period. And sorry, next slide. So the increase that we noticed was attributable to the Jadel and Implano in Lagos State. Yeah, for the condoms, the number of people that took up condoms was high, but when it comes to CYPs, it didn't really amount to much. And there were notable increases between 30 to 50% for oral contraceptives, depot, and the IUDs too. So in Kaduna State, the increase in CYP that was observed was attributable to the Jadel in Kaduna. Although there were also increases attributable to OCs and Jadel, the number decreased for depot and IUDs, and this did not change at all for the implant. Next slide. So we also looked at stockhouse at this facility, at the facilities during the pilot. In Lagos State, for Jadel, Implano, and IUD, 13 of the facilities experienced stockout for Jadel, 8 experienced stockout for Implano, and 7 of the facilities experienced stockout. In Kaduna, 2 of the facilities experienced stockout for Jadel and the Implano. So the reasons for the stockout that was observed at the facility: lack of readiness to meet the sudden surge created by the active mobilization in those facilities. In Lagos State, the stockout was due to the introduction of the last mile distribution logistic management system by UNFPA. So it was a weak coordination between our facilities and the local government, and there was no system in place for conducting periodic verification of inventory. We also noticed that providers did not lose much income, even with price reduction. In Lagos State, IUDs were lowered by an average of 177 naira, while the implants by about 770 naira. In Kaduna State, there was a loss on average of 600 for IUDs and 800 for implants. So, the lessons learned. Overall, every commodities pilot shows encouraging results. While price reduction was likely, the major reasons for this increase was other factors centrally contributed, like active mobilization. Some level of demand creation will always be necessary for.
Thank you very much. Our next after presentation is by Onyemchi.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. While we're still setting up, I'd love to tell us a story. Yeah, in one of my field visits in one of the communities I'm working in Cross River State, I encountered a Sarah. That's a woman who is interested in receiving a mentor. And this Sarah is interested, so it was easy for us to actually convince this Sarah to take a long-term method. However, the Sarah had major barrier. And what are these barriers? First, this is Sarah on this hand, with a public facility by the right hand. But Sarah can't access this public facility. Why? Because she has issues of confidentiality. Now, on the other side is a private facility. And Sarah feels this private facility is too expensive for me to access. Now, how do we help Sarah to bridge her barrier? This presentation I'm going to present to us, is showing us how Society for Family Health, through the social franchise private facilities, have actually helped Sarah to bridge this barrier. Are we ready? We want another story. Okay. All right. So the Society for Family the private facilities, social franchising has actually seen an increase in access in long-acting reversible contraceptive. And the presentation is being done by my humble self, Chizoba Oyechi, and my co-authors, Dr. Mala and Ngozi Ogamba. You all agree with me that the private facility health sector is responsible for the provision of the majority of 60% of the sexual and reproductive healthcare services in Nigeria. However, in terms of long-term method, we can only record 34% of these services. And why is it so? This is because in these private healthcare sectors, we have recorded that there's either limited knowledge and some of the providers are not well trained. At the same time, the providers in the private facility actually do not consider family planning services as profitable. And we know that in Nigeria, the government health services delivery has presently constituted cannot meet the health needs of the Nigeria alone. And therefore, for Nigeria to achieve its population and family planning goals, the private sector have to play their own role. Therefore, through the Women's Health Project, the Society for Family Health Women's Health Project, we sought to improve access to long-term method in Nigeria through the private sector, through this social franchising strategy. And this presentation today will show some of the experiences and the lessons we've learned over the years. The social franchise, what does that mean? It's simply the commercial franchising we all are conversant with. However, rather than looking at the profits margin of the business, in this case, looking at the social benefits, especially as it regards to the healthcare. And the Society for Family Health Women's Health Project introduced this Healthy Family Network in 340 franchise facilities in 24 states of Women's Health Project states in Nigeria, including FCT. And this is designed to efficiently increase access to high quality care services to those who do not have access to it, just like my Sarah in my story. Now, what does the Healthy Family Network set to offer? Basically, the providers in this facility adhere to client care standards and procedures and policies for delivery of high-quality family planning services. And we also ensure access to a range of contraceptive methods, including both short and long-term methods. Providers also receive extensive training and support, access to equipment, subsidized family planning commodities, as well as increased visibility from the Healthy Family brand and promotions. Society for Family Health Women's Health Project continually audits this franchise facility to ensure quality care. This picture shows the community, one of the communities in Acom, where we provide services, and that's the franchise brand, and the training ongoing. This happens on a consistent basis. Yes. Now, what are the things we've seen? Society for Family Health constantly monitors the output of the network to determine its contribution in providing these long-term methods through the private sector. And the services from the data generated in these are the data we generated from the 340 private facilities. And also, these data are actually validated by the quality focal persons in the states on a monthly basis. Now, looking at the trend, in 2010, from 15,000 in 2010, we have done a 360% increase in IUD only to 56,000 in 2015. Next. And also looking at these two, on the long-term method, we see clearly the implant, which is the implant here, and there's also a massive increase in what we have also achieved so far. Next slide. Now, this 340 Healthy Family Network has actually contributed significantly in the couple year of protection in Nigeria. And of course, we know that it takes 401 women on more modern contraception to move the CPR, couple contraceptive prevalence rate by 1 percentage point. However, for just 2 years, the Healthy Family Network have done 1,409 women, placed 1,409 women on long-term method, which gives us 421,000 couple year of protection achieved just in 2 years. And we also recorded other short-term method alongside. Next. Now, the conclusion. The Healthy Family Network has significantly increased the utilization of family planning services, especially long-term method through the private sector. The social franchising represents a tool for harnessing private sector providers to ensure high-quality services. Through this franchising, additional service can be integrated, such as to further improve the health outcomes of Nigeria. And there's also plans to scale up other mixed integrated services in the process. Next. Okay, I would like to acknowledge the anonymous donor, the PSI, Population Service International, SFH, the SFH M&E team, and the 340 Healthy Family Network that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our last presenter, Abdulmuiz Ibrahim Nuhu.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank everybody that chose to be here on behalf of all the other panelists. So I'll be presenting a proven to work model that we implemented in the first 5 years of its implementation, and looking at how we work with the NYC community platform in realizing this. So this is institutionalizing proven to work models in generating demand creation for family planning. We'll be looking at the background of the two organizations, the Nuri Mass Media Campaign, the NYC platform, and then I'll present the pilot project that we did on radio with the NYC, and we'll look at what the outcome is. So, we do know that communication campaigns are as old as Nigeria is. Arguably, probably if you look at the health campaigns, they are probably the oldest as far as electronic communication campaigns are concerned. We do them because they can initiate, they can accelerate, they can actually sustain the adoption of the family planning method or any other behavior for that matter. So the Nuri Mass Media Campaign, what was that like in the first 5 years of our implementation? We had a multi-channel intervention that included using both electronic media and social media, which is electronic media, and also social mobilization in communities. And our main focus in those 5 years and the new phase that we're on is to eliminate all barriers to family planning, but then ensure that it becomes adopted at the social level, at the policy level, at the service delivery level, and also at the community level. So the campaign that we ran in the first 5 years and are also still running is to Get Together, No Talk Go campaign. We focused on ensuring that Nigerians receive optimal knowledge on family planning, that we reduced unmet need, that we sustained and are still sustaining the current use of family planning, and that we also gain new family planning acceptors along the way. The Nuri Mass Media Campaign being multi-pronged means that we had TV spots, we had radio spots, we had a radio drama magazine program, and then to bring the electronic media, which is a bit abstract, to the people in the community, we also had a social organization component. That component included having radio drama discussion groups, which linked the audiences to what was happening in their communities. We had celebration of key life events, community parades, association meetings, and then daily client referrals. And all of this was channeled and modeled to aspire to what Nigerians know to be. We like to celebrate, and we like to succeed, and we really like to be beautiful. So, at the end of the first phase of our implementation, this is what the result looked like. And that's why we're able to say that it's a proven to work model. We had 60% of those that were called having heard of FP messages on TV. We had 33% having heard about family planning through our outreach outreaches and community events. We had 38% having learned about family planning from the Nuri Radio. But most importantly, and that's where our focus went, we had 75%, 3/4 of the people who were respondents having heard about family planning on the Nuri Radio program. Now, we didn't just need to stop at having those percentages looking very good. We wanted to test the significance as far as increasing CPR was concerned. And that's what we did here. And we find out of all of those components, Nuri Radio programming had the highest significance of 0.001 at 4.28 over there. So let's look at the NYSC platform. The NYSC platform is the largest single body in Nigeria that will assemble young people, young men and women, who are at that time ready for nation building. It's also the largest single platform that can mobilize them for any kind of free service, any kind of volunteerism. So of course, naturally, we latch on that. And what they do is they mobilize these young people from their universities as they are finishing, mobilize them to camp, they give them some kind of orientation, and then they involve them in the community service or community development service. At the end of the program year, they do a winding up ceremony, which includes preparing them for life in Nigeria, in the community. And so again, we latched on the CDS platform. And the CDS platform has all of these listed. You have the musical ones, you have the arts and culture, you have those with NEMA, which is the largest group, you have the SDG, you have the peer education trainers, which mainly focus on HIV/AIDS, but then you also have the editorial board. And most of the time when we talk about working with them, I think we focus mostly on the PET, which dwells on HIV. So again, we latched on the editorial board. And what we did was to look at the situation in Kaduna. We've had some of the presenters today in the morning at the plenary session talking about women in the north not having the self-efficacy to be able to say, I'm a user of family planning, or to be able to honor that they've used before. We also have issues of whether it is the men who are providing the consent or approval or permission, whatever those things may mean to a particular woman. We know that those are also issues that prevent women from being able to openly say that they're using family planning methods. So the one thing we thought we could do with these young men and women from the NYSC is to have them create a program that is, meant for young people who are young at heart. It's a chitty-chatty kind of program, but then it has a content of family planning. Instead of it just being that it's their papa's news and they just spend 30 minutes on airtime, which is free. So we did that with them. We came up with 13 episode, 15-minute live discussion program, which happens between the guys. And by the way, they were all guys. We had one of the radio stations that had a female, but it was just a guy thing. So we had a program that we had put together with men. It was by men, it was for men, it was about men. And then, next. And then we did all of this so that we could institutionalize what Nuri had been, talking about. I think for the past few years, we've been making a lot of noise about how successful our interventions have been. So the next step when we've been successful is to institutionalize the model that you have implemented and that succeeded. So that's what we did with this. And to also engage these young male couples, starting young. The importance of this FP conference is also getting young people on board early. So we do the same work with them so that they can model on radio, and they can also show women that men are actually champions in family planning, and men are actually involved in family planning. As opposed to just thinking my husband is going to say no permission, I should know that he actually approves of it. So we went through this strategic process. I don't want to go through that. Next slide. And it evolved, and then the next step of having prepared all of the concept and drawing up and doing the advocacies and linking up with the other platforms that were supposed to give us the technical assistance that the NYSC platform needed. We went through sensitizing club members in camp. That's something that you get like an hour. So it's really just a sensitization to get a feel of who are those who are willing to volunteer for such a program. And then we move on to training those who have already volunteered to be members of the editorial board. Because these ones end up being sent to the radio stations. And when they get there, the Kaduna State Media Corporation already provides 30 minutes of free time. And we we are poor, and we do things, quality costless. So, and then we train them, we do the documentation, and then here we are sharing that knowledge. So, this is what it looks like. What you see on the left is Nuri, Kaduna State Ministry of Health, and then the State Media Corporation. That's where the technical assistance comes in. We put that into the editorial board, we put it into other volunteer corps members who are ready to mobilize in the communities, all of them on the NYSC platform. And then we introduce our social mobilization strategies, the way we mobilize, and which is what has led to tremendous success we made. And then we also put them on radio and give them some family planning content that they can deliver in a young, yuppie kind of way in 15 minutes. So, this is what we found. We had a brief period with the batch that we piloted this week. We had almost 6 months with them. So we were able to air 27 episodes. And then we had that much minutes of airtime, 465. Look at the radio stations, look at the airing time, and then look at the listenership. So they weren't just any radio station that has a population of maybe 100 or 23,000 people. These were radio stations that had listeners in the millions. So you know, the most you can hope for is to get like 50% of that reach, that listenership, you know, being on air or listen at the time that you're airing next. And then we also taught them how to train them on how to mobilize in the communities. Now for mobilization, this is what we found. We found 54% of the 160 clients that these youth corps were able to mobilize at the time, 54% ended up in the facility, which means the referral was completed. They took off methods next. And this is the big one. This is the one that this is the slide that everybody should focus on. We had an omnibus summit that was going to happen around the time that we were rounding up this pilot, and we latched onto it. Question was very simple. How many of the women that were going to be polled had ever heard of the youth corps talk about Go Men Go or family planning on radio? Look at the result, 92%. That's in 6 months. So when radio is the power tool for you to reach out information and you use it, it automatically becomes something that all of us should be using, whether family planning or not. It's a really good way. And then you have young men and women who are willing to volunteer their time. We still have 2 of them who are still volunteering time right now in Kaduna because they haven't gained employment yet. So they still go into the studios and they're still talking about family planning. Next. So it is a viable platform. If we have a model that has already been proven to work, and then it has worked, and we can prove that it has worked, then there's no reason why we cannot use it to get as many volunteers as possible to put that. I do not want to drop the mic without saying that one of those volunteers, in fact, the one who coordinated the 10 in the radio stations, is actually here with us. Please stand up. I want him to be seen and known. Mohammed Hussein. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for our presenters. All right, so we're going to take questions now. So we've got one here, one over there. I'm going to let Professor Kele sit and pass the mic, and I'm going to move around. All right, so.
Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Carr, I'm the health office at USAID. I'm very familiar with the work that SFH is doing with PPMVs, but I still have some questions for you. For the PPMVs that you trained, what was the level of education? Did you document the level of education? The reason why I ask is I understand that there's some PPMVs who have very little education, while there are some who may be midwives, nurses, or choose who've opened patent medicine stores. So I'd like to know if you documented that. And who was trained? Were the owners trained, or were the staff trained, or both? How many were trained? You know that there was this study was done in 6 states, but you didn't. I don't believe you mentioned how many PPMVs were involved in this study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the presenters. Mine is just contribution observation, which I believe will not lead to a kind of action. One, I want to commend the first speaker. That is the one that speaks on expanding of expanding access to family planning through EPMV. Really, by so doing, I want to say that it has really improved the CPR in most areas that are gone. Really, you said 12 states were where you conducted your survey, but in my own state, which is Kwara State, I want to seize this opportunity to commend Society for Family Health who are taking this up in my state to go around the whole 16 local government in my state. And in doing so, they were going with contraceptives, particularly the pills and condoms, which is made and subsidized to all the PPMV, and which they bought at subsidized price and being given to, making it accessible to the users. So if others will emulate this, I think it will go a long way for the users to have access unrestricted because of the cost. Now, the second presenter, that is effect of private providers, access to government family planning, commodities. This is also done in my state, and I want to commend Nori on this. Nori did well because when they operated in Kwara, about 5 local governments were taken, and in these 5 local governments, all private sectors, clinic and pharmacists, were taken into consideration, and they were supplied with commodity so that people can have access to it. But this is where I'm going. When Nori left, this is cannot be done again. And like the last speaker said, people prefer to go to the private service than public. One, because of the easiness and the quick services. But at the same time, even though the price puts them from accessing the commodity from private, how do we resolve this? This is the situation, and nobody has left. So this has been the problem in Kwara State in terms of access. Now the last.
Thank you very much. My name is Justina Young. I work with Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. First of all, I want to commend you for the beautiful presentation. I enjoyed it, but I want to tell us here that it's not everybody that is into family planning. Like I myself, I work with young people on reproductive health, but I just observed that there are some words that were meant to always, at the first appearance, let's make sure we put them in the full meaning. Instead of the shops, I keep asking, what is shops, what is CYP, what is this? Some of us are new and we are trying to learn because we work with the young people. Maybe in subsequent presentations, let's try to put that in mind. Thank you very much. Sorry. One more thing. The presenter from Society for Family Health, you did very well, but the results were not too smart. We want to see the number of persons, the percentage, just like the new presenter did. I think it will make it better. Thanks.
No, the one in glasses, the last presenter.
Let me just add, I am Elizabeth Alalagi. I work for USAID MCS Bijepago. I want to commend all presenters, like she said, wonderful presentations. On the first one, talking about expanding access to FP through PPMV, when the speaker was speaking about, was it conclusion, talking about the need for refresher, there was a mention of cyber beats. Though you were silent on it, I just don't want to, it's a comment. I don't want to agree that cyber beats is complicated. You know, with proper counseling and practice, anyone who is interested can master the use as a natural family planning method. Thank you.
afternoon. Thank you, presenters. My question is to Dr. TamarindA, maybe the site family of the presenter. Please, could you give us a practical example of what the pricing is like? What kind of agreement did you come to with the private facilities? Because if you give them the commodities at the subsidized price, how do you control the price that they give it to the clients when they come? Is there any money change? What is the agreement and a practical example with any of the methods? Thank you.
Just have more time for one more question.
Okay, my name is Sarah Tonabodi Ojo, Bachelor 2. Thank you for the presentations. I just want to ask more details with regards to the training of the PPMVs. Would like to know more about the training methodology. How many days was it? What was the time interval between the training and the study that was conducted? You talked about the importance of refresher training. So was that actually done on your own project, or is that a recommendation that you're putting forward? And then other things such as follow-up, supportive supervision, was that done for the PPMVs? Because this is an important information, for others to learn from.
Right, so we're going to let the presenters respond to the questions. We'll start with the first.
Thank you very much. Let me start with the first question on the educational qualification of the people we train. Basically, there is no specified qualification for one to own a patent nursing store. Yeah. So some of them are graduates from tertiary institutions, others have ONDs, and others are secondary school leavers. So the basic requirement for this training is that that person must own a patent medicine shop or must be responsible for dispensing drugs in the patent medicine shop to qualify as somebody who will be part of this training. So we do not specify qualification, educational qualification as one of the qualifications for being part of the training. And you also stated that I did not mention the number of persons trained. I said 30% was selected, randomly selected, and 1,117 and 77 persons were interviewed. So unfortunately, I cannot give that question later. But if you give me some time, maybe later on I can give you the specific figure on the number of persons interviewed across the 12 states. But I know it's approximately 98 to 99 persons per state that were interviewed. You also asked who we trained. Okay, I already have talked about that. Okay, on my the refresher training, it was just a recommendation based on the findings from the research that was conducted. And this recommendation is not just for us here who may want to replicate this training for PPMs. It's also for SFH who is doing the training. It's a one-day training, approximately it's 4 to 6 hours for the different states. So that's why there's need for a refresher, because one day is not enough.
Sorry, we only have time for each of the presenters to respond to one question. Please take advantage of after the break to approach the. I think it's okay to approach the presenters, and you can ask your questions in more detail. But we only have time for one response from each presenter.
Thank you very much for your comments and the question. Yeah, a practical example, the long-acting method in Lagos was pegged at 1,000 naira, and the short-acting method is 500 naira. And during the period of the pilot, we also monitored this because we had community mobilizers working. So, and the staff of the organizations also monitored to ensure that they comply with the price. In Kaduna State, the price was even lower than that. Thank you.
The question on price control. Before we selected the social franchise facilities, there was an agreement, we signed an MOU, and part of the MOU signed was that they are going to provide the services, to the poor and vulnerable at the affordable price. And it doesn't stop there. On a monthly basis, on regular supportive supervisory, we do a check on them. We go through mystery clients. We do a lot of things to ensure that we keep the providers on track and ensure that they are doing what they have signed that they will do. Thank you.
I believe no question was directed, I think I got a compliment, but then I'm going to respond to what you had said about the work Nuri did in Ilorin, which were in Kwara State, which Ilorin actually the city, which we're very proud of. You had seed grants, so the grants that had been given to you was a seed grant. It wasn't meant to last you for a very long period, and then you were also energized into forming a platform. So you have family planning providers network, which you registered at the national level. That's supposed to be a viable enough platform to help you engage with other donors and to help you actually sustain yourself. So I hope you guys are still doing what you can do to sustain your platform and do better.
All right, thank you all for participating in this session. I want to thank our presenters again, and please feel free to approach them if you have additional questions. Thank you very much.
One or two announcements. A lunch, from here we're going straight for lunch, and I think it's for now 40 minutes. By 2 o'clock, we'll go to the various parallel sessions so that we can start. It's unfortunate, many good questions have come, but we do not have time to. But during this tea break and lunch break, we can ask our questions. So please, let's return by 2 o'clock so that the parallel session can start. Once again, thank you and God bless.